Hello students, this is Mr. Lou and I am your 7-minute sensei, where I attempt to explain everything that you need to know in 7 minutes or less. Today I decided to make a video in response to a Flipgrid on-track feedback where one of my students suggested that I take some time and talk about some of the greatest marketing blunders. Many of you have just finished a marketing capstone project where you had the opportunity to create your own marketing plan. Now I've read through most of those and I would say good start, and that there are still many things that we need to learn. I'm going to show you a few videos which depict some marketing blunders that hopefully will be instructive about how to build a successful marketing campaign in the future, or rather how to avoid making some big mistakes. So the first video perhaps is one of the most famous case studies where a company that you're all familiar with, Coca-Cola, decided to change their recipe that they had used for 99 years. During this time, their major competitor in the beverage business, Pepsi, had conducted a taste test. And as a result of this taste test, they did discover, in fact, that consumers did prefer the sweeter taste of Pepsi. Now, here's the mistake that Coca-Cola made. They made the assumption that people drank Coke because of its taste, its flavor, when in fact, what they later discovered was that people bought and drank Coke because it was who they were. Their first introduction to a Coca-Cola beverage was Coke. And long story short, in this video, we'll show you a piece of the video that tells the story. But the company had to make some very quick changes, and some people call this a brilliant recovery, where they came back with something they call Coke Classic. Let's take a look at this video here.
Replacing the word soda with the word Coke, that means that Coke is doing pretty well. So here we have one of the biggest, well-known, loved brands the world has ever seen. In 1985, they were approaching 100 years without changing the recipe or the taste in any major way. It was the taste that everyone loved and had become accustomed to, but just before they hit that 100-year mark, they decided to make one change, and that was to change the recipe in a way that made it taste completely different. No exaggeration here. The Coca-Cola company pulled the traditional soda from all North American shelves and replaced it with an entirely new cola. They told the public it was happening and made no effort to hide it. All the new cans of Coke were clearly labeled with a tag that said new, and the product became known as New Coke.
This has got to be the boldest consumer products move of any kind, of any stripe, since Eve started to hand out apples.
So now, all the people that were loyal to this soda for possibly even 100 years could no longer buy it. Their only option was this new offering from Coke, or switching to Pepsi or another competitor. Now the idea of this sounds insane, and I promise you this is exactly what happened. Coca-Cola, all at once, abandoned their recipe, and their customers were outraged. At this point you might be thinking,
Okay, was this a blunder, or in the end did it turn out to be a brilliant marketing strategy? Well, I'll leave that up to you. You can read the full case study actually on the Coca-Cola company website because it is that famous. Okay, the next video that I want to show you is something that happened fairly recently, and it's now referred to as the Peloton Girl. And this is actually a little clip that comes from the Today Show where the actress is being interviewed, but they essentially tell the story of how this advertisement by Peloton came out, and it is a story of a husband that gives his wife, his beautiful wife, a new cycling machine, suggesting that maybe she needed to lose a little bit of weight. And it was not received well. The Twitter sphere, the blog sphere, did not react well. And let's just go ahead and take a look at this video here.
A Peloton? Give it up for our first time.
It's the infamous ad that got everyone all spun up. A husband gives his already thin wife a Peloton exercise bike as a gift. She documents her fitness journey and gets emotional when she shares the results with him a year later.
A year ago, I didn't realize how much this would change me.
Critics were quick to pounce, some calling the ad creepy and sexist. One Twitter user writing, "If my husband bought me a Peloton for Christmas, I'd make him a video too."
Okay, so I don't know how you responded to that particular video, but it did get a lot of publicity. Once again, was the end result good or bad for Peloton? Well, apparently they lost $1 billion in market capitalization as a result of this particular advertisement. Now the next, it's not a video, the next clip I'd like to show you is about a marketing campaign that was created by an executive at the Marriott Corporation. Now Marriott has been around for a long time. There are even roots to Utah, and it's been a family business. Just maybe 6-7 years ago, they did get a new CEO for the first time. Arne Sorensen, a non-Marriott family member, is in charge of the company. And this story, it's just actually a little news article, is a clip, it's just right here below me, about this executive who ends up resigning at Marriott because, well, as some suggest, because of really negative feedback on her marketing campaign to launch a new loyalty program, which is known as Bonvoy. Now, full disclosure, I am a Marriott Bonvoy member. I've been a long time Marriott customer. In fact, I did reach the second highest level in the old loyalty program called Marriott Rewards. And for those people that belong to these loyalty programs, there is an element of prestige that comes with those levels. And so a lot of negative reaction on this. In fact, the executive in charge of Bonvoy resigns. Now the next story is a personal story where I made a marketing blunder, if you will. I was working at Microsoft, and I believe we were launching Office 95, and that is a new Office Suite product that came out, and my job was to make sure that our marketing channel was very aware about this new product. And so I decided that we were going to take the route of creating a lot of fun parodies to launch this particular product. Again, this is targeted, my audience is the marketing channel or the distribution channel. So it's not the end consumer, but we're out to train thousands of salespeople why they should sell Microsoft Office. Now, my mistake, and you'll see this is there's a theme here. This was back in, I guess, 1995. And we just picked a movie, several movies, and the movie we selected to make a parody of, in this case, was Jerry Maguire. So those of you familiar with Jerry Maguire, there is a famous actor besides Tom Cruise. His name is Cuba Gooding Jr. And he had just won an Academy Award. So he just won an Oscar for his role as this superstar football player. Jerry Maguire, or Tom Cruise, is his agent. And this is just a short clip here, and then I'll finish the rest of my story.
Jerry? Yeah, what can I do for you?
Show me the money.
Okay, Cuba Gooding Jr., famous actor, award-winning. Well, the mistake that I made was, as the executive producer, I basically just shared my vision of what we want to do with these parodies and turn over the work to the professionals. And so they did the casting, and I'm not here to kind of wash my hand from this. This is just a true story and a lesson learned. And they casted somebody that was not African American. And I was told in this case, where you had someone that just won an Academy Award, very prominent in the film, that it was a mistake. In fact, I was asked to go speak with several Black employees at Microsoft, the president of the Association of Blacks at Microsoft even. And when I spoke with him, he gave me this feedback. He says, I don't think it's terribly offensive. I don't think that you need to reshoot this video. I was being told by my boss that I may have to reshoot the video, and just that small clip alone was going to cost me $20,000 just to redo that small clip that I was executive producer of. But I was told by this president of this association that he referred to it as a missed opportunity. So folks, lesson learned here is you have to understand your audience, you have to understand your brand, your employer, and what you want to represent. So just got to think it through sometimes. All right, next video. The next video is about Dove. Now, Dove is a company, a brand owned by Unilever, and they created a number of different ads around this theme of the body and the body image. And let's just watch this video and see what happens here. A lot of action on the Twitter sphere. Okay, what the problem was here is a lot of people interpret this ad as very racist, suggesting that lighter skinned people represented more beautiful people, and they made a number of errors in depicting beautiful images. Now, the funny thing is I'm reminded of a Michael Jackson music video which he created for a song called Black and White. And at the time, people that saw that video thought it was very innovative, breakthrough, creative, genius, only as Michael could do. Yet in this case, it was not received in that same welcoming voice. Finally, this is a clip from a video, a YouTube video called The 10 Worst PR Mistakes Made by Companies. And this is a clip of Kendall Jenner and an ad made by Pepsi. And watch how this very simple advertisement, how it somehow is viewed as a video, a commercial made in very poor taste. And I'll talk about it here in a moment.
Ad for trivializing and exploiting social justice movements such as Black Lives Matter. And it received further condemnation when Martin Luther King Jr.'s daughter tweeted, quote, "If only Daddy would have known about the power of Pepsi." Pepsi eventually apologized and pulled the commercial. Lululemon founder blamed.
Okay. There's more to that ad. Sorry, didn't cue that up properly. But the idea was that Kendall Jenner had just come off of a photo shoot, and she sees this protest about some social injustice, and she wants to show support for this cause, and she hands a can of Pepsi to a security officer. And the reaction again is that some felt like this was an inopportune time to try to sell a product like Pepsi and sort of trivialize or marginalize this whole civil rights movement, this injustice, Black Lives Matter, all these things that were happening during this time. Ultimately, in the end, Pepsi did have to pull this ad. So there's a lot of lessons learned here. Hopefully you've gleaned something from them. There are some common themes. Obviously, you have to know your product. You have to know your customer, your potential audience who may view this. You have to understand what your message is. What is it that your brand wants to be? You've got to be extremely careful about creating edgy type of advertisements. Yes, some are very deliberate about creating these kind of provocative, edgy videos. Calvin Klein comes to mind, creating a lot of advertisements that in the end backfired against the Calvin Klein brand. So be careful about what you do, think it through, consult with others, and really understand why people do buy your product. Hey, this is Mr. Lou, your 7-Minute Sensei, saying so long and peace out.